What happens when the ultimate apex predator, Godzilla, becomes the ultimate host? Find out in this shocking exploration of what a xenomorph pregnancy might look like for the king of the monsters. Godzilla's roar split the sky, rolling like a tsunami across shattered skyscrapers, shaking glass from windows miles away. Deep in the hollowed-out remnants of Tokyo, the air trembled with a secondary screech, sharp and layered, like knives across steel. It was not the call of another kaiju, nor the warning of jets screaming overhead, but something deeper, older, crawling from the black. It was a xenomorph's scream, shrill and cold, weaving itself into the storm, as if answering Godzilla's challenge from the shadows. It was the crossover no one knew they needed until the moment it happened, the collision of two apex monsters from distant worlds. Godzilla, the embodiment of primal wrath and atomic rebirth, and the xenomorph, the perfect organism, silent and patient, thriving in darkness. For decades, each had reigned within their own thrones. Godzilla, king of monsters with city-crushing steps and radioactive fury. Xenomorphs, the ultimate predators whose acid blood dissolved steel, whose hive mind expanded with every nest, every dark corridor. They were legends of separate realms, yet their fusion felt like destiny, a monstrous potential that defied imagination. A Xenomorph-Godzilla hybrid was not only unexpected, it was thrilling, terrifying, and inevitable once the seed of the idea took root. The monstrous potential of such a fusion was a promise of chaos, a beast that could walk between worlds, a creature neither the stars nor the earth could contain. It began, as all horrors do, with biology. The xenomorph, crafted by evolutionary cruelty, born from parasitic implantation, inherited traits from its host, weaponizing them in the most brutal of ways. Razor-sharp claws, inner jaws with puncturing precision, acid blood that hissed through titanium. Every cell of a xenomorph was designed for one purpose: perfection in hunting, killing, and surviving. They thrived in extremes: zero atmosphere, toxic planets, irradiated moons. Radiation was a playground, not a tomb. Godzilla was a different kind of perfection. Towering, scaled, built to harness the rage of the atom itself. Its dorsal plates channeled the gathered energy into blue fire, atomic breath that could melt tanks and tear through the hulls of warships. Each thunderous step could shatter bridges, collapse tunnels, and cause the ground itself to recoil. Godzilla healed with impossible speed, driven by instinct and something deeper, an elemental force tied to the Earth's fury. The thought of these two merging was both grotesque and captivating. A xenomorph would adapt to its host, and if the host was Godzilla, the results would be monstrous. Acid blood coursing through a body the size of a skyscraper. Claws that could tear apart even the thickest armor of other kaiju, laced with a toxic film capable of eating through defenses. An atomic breath infused with a chemical volatility, possibly releasing clouds of acidic vapor with each exhale, burning the skies and raining toxic death upon entire armies. The resilience of Godzilla, combined with the adaptive cunning of the xenomorph, would create something nearly unstoppable. Yet even in monstrosity, there would be flaws, vulnerabilities waiting to be found by those brave, or foolish, enough to seek them. The xenomorph's reliance on close-quarters attacks might conflict with Godzilla's wide-scale destruction instincts, creating internal struggles within the creature. Acid blood, while a weapon, might destabilize its own tissues if injured in the wrong way. Its need to reproduce, if retained from the xenomorph, might lead it to seek hosts, creating moments of vulnerability during egg-laying or hive-building. But these weaknesses would be few, and the hybrid's evolutionary drive would learn, adapt, and overcome them as quickly as they appeared. The world would learn of this hybrid's arrival through a horrifying scenario. An expedition sent to monitor Godzilla's migratory patterns discovered strange readings near an irradiated atoll where the Titan rested, recovering its strength in the warm waters above a geothermal vent. Deep within the darkness, a derelict Weyland-Yutani vessel, long thought lost, had crashed decades earlier, carrying with it a single precious cargo: xenomorph eggs harvested from a distant moon, sealed away for study and weaponization. One egg survived, its leathery surface pulsing in the heat, awakening as the vibrations of Godzilla's movements stirred it from dormancy. Perhaps it was a foolish scavenger crew searching for salvage, opening the sealed container and letting the facehugger escape. Or perhaps, driven by corporate greed, an operative was ordered to deploy the egg, believing that a xenomorph could kill Godzilla and clear a path for resource extraction. But in the end, the facehugger found its target, and the unimaginable happened. It latched onto the scales of Godzilla as the Titan slumbered, its tail tightening, its proboscis finding a way through a gap near a healing wound from a previous battle. It injected its genetic payload into the nuclear bloodstream of the king of monsters. And for the first time in its existence, the xenomorph genetic code met the radioactive core of a kaiju. Cells merged, fought, merged again. Godzilla's body, designed to purge foreign invaders with radioactive pulses, found itself unable to kill the parasite. Instead, it adapted around it, and the embryo adapted in turn, growing, twisting, becoming something new. When Godzilla awoke, it was already too late. It began with seizures that shook the ocean, steam rising as the hybrid cells overtook Godzilla's natural regeneration pathways, rewriting its flesh. The skin cracked, revealing black chitin that shimmered like oil in the sun, edged with serrated spikes. The spines along its back elongated, twisting into barbed protrusions dripping acid. Its eyes, once burning with atomic fury, now glowed with a cold, predatory light. When it roared, it was no longer the singular call of Godzilla, but a layered scream, the xenomorph shriek woven into the sound, reverberating through concrete and steel. When it moved, cities crumbled. The hybrid's size surpassed even Godzilla's, bloated by the need to house the xenomorph's hyper-efficient organs and additional power channels created by the fusion. Acid dripped from its claws, leaving trenches of smoking concrete with every step. Its tail, longer and barbed, could lash through entire buildings, leaving acidic trails that devoured what remained. It retained the atomic breath, but now it was infused with volatile chemicals, creating clouds of corrosive ash that would hang in the air, raining acid long after the hybrid moved on. The hybrid was more than just a monster. It was a force of nature. Conventional weapons, already ineffective against Godzilla, became laughable against the hybrid, whose adaptive flesh would heal around projectiles while the acid blood destroyed them from the inside. Attempts to freeze it failed, as it adapted, regulating its internal temperature. Attempts to poison it failed, as it expelled toxins with radioactive pulses. The creature's biology was a constant state of flux, its xenomorph DNA seeking perfection, learning from each failed attack, growing stronger. This creature would not simply stop at destruction. The xenomorph's hive instinct remained, manifesting in a horrifying new way. It sought to create, to spread its influence, laying eggs in the charred ruins of fallen cities. New xenomorphs hatched from whatever creatures survived in its wake: rodents, birds, even the irradiated sea life drawn to the devastation. Each new spawn bore hints of the kaiju essence, growing larger, stronger, more resistant to weapons. Soon, a hybrid hive would form, a nest the size of a mountain, pulsating and alive, with the hybrid Godzilla xenomorph as its queen and king, guardian and destroyer. Nations fell, one by one, as militaries scrambled to contain the hybrid. The oceans became battlegrounds as it crossed continents, drawn to the faint signals of other kaiju. either to challenge them or to transform them. The skies blackened with ash, and acid rain became a reality, corroding vehicles and buildings, poisoning water supplies, forcing the remnants of humanity underground or into deep bunkers as the hybrid's reign spread. Could such a creature be defeated? That question haunted the surviving leaders and scientists watching the destruction from satellite feeds. Some believed the hybrid's acid blood could be used against it if detonated within its own body. Others believed luring it into the deepest trenches of the ocean and sealing it there might contain it, but containment was not destruction. A few proposed a genetic virus engineered to target the xenomorph DNA, hoping to destabilize the hybrid from within, but delivery was a problem no one could solve. And so, the hybrid remained, its monstrous potential realized in the most terrifying way. It was the ultimate predator with the destructive force of a natural disaster, an apex evolution that no environment could fully repel. It was the embodiment of wrath and cunning, adapting to every new challenge, growing with each confrontation, learning, evolving, surviving. It left behind a world reshaped by its passing, a testament to the nightmare of what happens when unstoppable force and perfect predator meet in a single form. Every footprint it left was a crater of acid and radiation, a scar upon the earth that would take centuries to heal. Every roar was a promise that it would not stop, that it could not be contained by walls, oceans, or even the best minds of a desperate humanity. And as the dust settled over yet another ruined city, as the hybrid turned its cold, luminous gaze toward the horizon, seeking the next source of challenge, the world could only ask, could such a hybrid be defeated? If so, how? Would it take the cooperation of every remaining kaiju to face the hybrid in a battle of titans, risking their own annihilation to stop the threat? Would humanity be forced to awaken something even older, something more dangerous, to combat this hybrid, repeating the mistakes of the past in a desperate bid for survival? The hybrid Godzilla-Xenomorph stood on the shores of a blackened sea, acid dripping from its claws, the glow of atomic power humming along its back. It let out a roar, echoing across the wasteland, daring the world to try. And somewhere, in the bunkers and surviving outposts, people watched, terrified yet unable to look away, knowing that whatever the future held, the world would never be the same. Because once the hybrid was unleashed, there was no turning back.